Multiplying with radicals. Well, the key word here for this type of problem is distribute your multiplication. So part A, we have the square root of 3x times parenthesis square root of 3 minus the square root of x. We'll distribute the multiplication. We have the square root of 3x times the square root of 3 minus the square root of 3x times the square root of x. Now do the multiplication under a single radical sign since we're multiplying and the indices match. They're both square roots in each case. And then simplify under the radical to get square root of 9x minus the square root of 3x squared. Okay, now we're going to simplify. That's where we take each of the radicals and we factor out any perfect squares, bring it to the front, bust it out multiplicatively, and evaluate the square roots of perfect squares. Okay, so we're going to say bring down the square root of 9 times the square root of 7x minus the square root of 3 times the square root of x squared. So that's evaluated 3 times the square root of x minus the square root of 3 times x. The x should come in front of the square root. So we have 3 times the square root of x minus x times the square root of 3. Now for part B, we have 2 terms times 2 terms in the parentheses. And whenever we have a plus b times whatever, when we have 2 terms times 2 terms, that means we're going to FOIL. So first times first gives me this minus the outer times the outer plus the inner times the inner minus the last times the last. Okay, let's simplify this. That gives us the cube root of 4 times 2 under a single radical sign minus the cube root of 4 plus 2 times the cube root of 2 and then minus 2. So let's see, that's the cube root of 8 minus the cube root of 4 plus 2 times the cube root of 2 minus 2. And the cube root of 8 is just the number 2. It's because 2 to the third power is 8. Bring down minus 3 square root, bring down the cube root of 4 plus 2 cube root of 2 minus 2. The 2's are going to cancel. And our final answer, I'll put the positive term in the front. It's 2 cube root of 2 minus the cube root of 4. Those are unlike radicals. There's no way I can combine them together, so we're finished. And finally we have cube square root of x minus 1, then plus 5 outside of the square root, parenthesis, raised to the second power. Well, you cannot distribute the second power across addition or subtraction. You have to use the definition of raising anything to the second power. You multiply that big parenthesis times itself. So it's the square root of x minus 1, and then plus 5 times the square root of x minus 1 plus 5. They're both pluses because we just squared the darn thing. We just repeated it twice and multiplied it. Now we're going to FOIL. First times first gives us the square root of x minus 1 parenthesis squared. Then the product of the outers is positive 5 square root of x minus 1 plus the product of the inners, 5 times the square root of x minus 1 plus last times last is 5 squared. So the radical is canceled by the second root in the first part, and that gives just x minus 1. Plus, combine these two like terms to get positive 10 times the square root of x minus 1. And don't forget to bring down the 5 squared, which is plus 25 now. Combining like terms, we're going to add the negative 1 to the 25 in the back, and our final answer will be x plus 10 times the square root of x minus 1 plus 24.